Matovu ahalecha Yaakov mishkanosecha Yisrael. How goodly are your tents, O Jacob, your dwelling places, O Israel. Everyone knows this line. It's the first word of davening. Children at a very young age learn to daven and to sing Matovu. These words, of course, come from this morning's Torah reading, Parshat Shavua of Shabbos, where Bilam comes to curse the Jewish people, and instead of cursing the Jewish people, what comes out of his word, out of his mouth, are blessings. In reality, upon a deeper look, everything he says is a double entendre, but certainly on the surface, it's a blessing. And in the Gemara we find that what Bilam had in his heart to say in a negative way came out in a positive way. There are some people who, what you see is what you get. So they would say in Yiddish, was is often lung is often zung, what's on the lung is on the tongue. And then there's some people who say one thing but mean another. And that's the category that Bilam was in. What he said was a blessing, but in his heart was the opposite. And this is a profound revelation about what drove Bilam. If you look carefully at the characters in the Torah who are against our heroes, who are against our people, what we generally find is that they have personal motivations. Esav seeks to destroy Yaakov. Certainly on the surface, it's because he's angry at Yaakov. In his perception, Yaakov stole the birthright, he stole the Bechorah, he stole the bracha, the blessing from Yitzchak. And so he's the angry, jealous brother. Yaakov has to contend with Lavan for 20 years, his father-in-law, who tries to trick him at every stage of the game. Because Lavan is motivated by greed. All he wants is more and more and more. Paro, what's he worried about? We have to be worried. The Jewish people are many in number and they're going to join our enemies and they'll lead an uprising. Paro is paranoid, he's nervous that this group is going to overtake him. Even Amalek, who has a sense that they want a world that is governed by chance. They don't want a world in which there is obligation, in which there's responsibility. Their anger, their animus, really comes from a place of personal need. It's very destructive. The most destructive, perhaps. That kind of cynicism and scoffing. But Bilam is really different. Bilam is a genuine anti-Semite. Bilam is a prophet. Bilam, as Chazal teach us, was Yodea Das Elya, and he had supreme knowledge. And he hated the Jewish people. Because so long as the Jews were on top, he wasn't. And so Bilam was out to bring down Jewry, not just Jews. And so when Bilam says, Matovu Allah Yaakov Mishkanosecha Yisrael, Bilam recognizes that the secret of the success of the Jewish people lies in their commitment, as the Gemara says, to Batei Knesiyos, to Batei Midrashos, to synagogues and to halls of study. And Bilam understood that if he could eradicate the places of Torah and Tefillah, then he would reign as the supreme prophet. Baruch Hashem, his words came out as a blessing. And we realize from his anger, from his venom, from his vitriol, just the opposite. That Matovu Alecha Yaakov Mishkanosecha Yisrael. Our shuls are so precious to us. We have to get back to them, we have to guard them. And we have to cherish them. And if we do, then that means recognizing that in this time that we are beginning to reemerge, we have to be truly careful. We have to really take care that we don't forget about social distancing, that we don't stop wearing masks. Since this outbreak, many months ago, I have performed 2 weddings in our community. And I take such pride in these families who made such small weddings, who took enormous precautions to assure the highest standards of social distancing. It meant not being able to invite their own friends. It meant social distancing. It meant no dancing. Can you imagine weddings with no dancing? Hard, difficult, unusual, unprecedented, but necessary. There are unfortunately places where not everybody is so careful. After my wife and I were at one of these very, very small weddings, there was another wedding nearby. Somebody who my wife knew for a long time. We wanted to just go in and say Mazel Tov. It was already late at night when we came. And as opposed to the first wedding, which was entirely outdoors, and which was so small in number, in which there was such care taken about social distancing and disinfecting. Everyone was wearing not just masks, but shields. This other wedding was appalling. It was indoors, hundreds of people, no one wearing masks, no one social distancing, as if no one cared. A sign of remarkable disregard and disrespect for others, putting people at risk. It was shocking. It was appalling. If we are not careful enough, if we don't continue to abide by strong, high standards, then we, chas v'shalom, might be risking our own precious tents of Torah, our own sanctuaries of prayer. Let us hope that in the merit of taking the necessary precautions, as difficult as they are, that this will assure that there is not an uptick, an upsurge of COVID-19 in our community, and that we will continue on a slow progression to the point where we will be able to daven properly and fully in our sanctuaries. May that time come speedily in our days. Ma tov alecha Yaakov, Mishkanosecha Yisrael.